This is step one of my less is more lesson, filmed live. And because we had a little issue with the sound, it was spotty here and there, it goes from the live presentation to some voiceovers. So we hope you enjoy it. Let's get started. So I'm in Marija, Spain, southern part of Spain. We're looking out at the beautiful ocean, and right ahead of me is a lovely little scene. There's an awful lot of people, I kind of left them out. But what I'm looking to hear today is how you select something. You don't put everything in it, you just kind of select. And what I love that old tree, framing it in, and I just love this moving up through the center area here. And the thing is, everything is going to one point. So right here, everything's straight. This is my one point perspective. And then starting there, things start going up. So you can see it's coming down into this area. So I've got a little underpainting here that I'm going to start with. And I purposely left a path of light through here. And I think this is going to work pretty well. And what I love to do is just start with my interest point. So I love that tree. So I'm just going to go up and look for anything different. No pre-drawing, just no pencil. Just get that pen out and go for it. And just keep moving. Let your eye follow the shape. And then it turns around and goes up off the top. It comes back. And always when it joins the tree, it gets gnarly. So just have a little fun there. And then we're going to make the crotch as interesting as we can. Maybe turn again. Now we'll come back down the other side. And again, that tree is awesome. You can't go wrong. You can do anything you want and it'll work. It's got a couple more knots here. And then this is where I'm going to basically base. I'm going to ground my picture down. This is where the roots are coming out. And at this point, I'm going to start moving here. So now this is where I'm going to start putting in the real less is more part. I'm going to focus on my interest area. So you can see I've established the first edge of the building. And I like the way it's interlocking with the tree. And now I'm going to go up and develop the space between the buildings. Just kind of feel my way up. Something might be interlocking, so I always leave stop and start lines. And I'm thinking now about the awning. And see, so the awning, oh, it's a beautiful interlocking shape with that tree. And it's sticking out into that area. So the awning is what really makes this picture work. And so now again, I'm just going to put in some details. Anytime you have awnings, you're going to start developing shapes underneath. Again, you can see the scene. It's really busy. You could hear all the sounds earlier. So at this point now, I'm going to continue adding minimal details on the tree, but lots of information behind it. So I'm going to start to develop the window and shapes in the window, some darks. And that's the fun part. Anything interlocking. So the fact that the tree is in front of this awning is what makes it really interesting. But now it's time to start moving up. So I'm going to put in some windows. Everything's straight because it's looking straight at us. And if I don't get the right line the first time, I just put another one. I don't worry about it. No rulers, just put it down. And then there's another window above that. Let's go up here. Line them up a little bit. They have some balconies. Now here's where the fun comes in. There's another building here. So as we come down, and this building is further back. So we're going to go back to look here. And it's still below our eye level, so it's going to come down. But here's eye level. So this is where there might be some doors. And anytime you have a door or window, you always try to make it a little more interesting. So let's put a little shadow. We'll probably end up putting some kind of figure in here coming out of the building. And the building, they're at my eye level. And so it's straight here. Now we're going up. We're above eye level here. So we're going to start going up. And we have the edge of the building. Now to go back even further, we're going to start this building. You have to enter this building. And in order to enter it, again, we got a lovely interlocking shape. And we've got steps. I love steps. So we're going to step up into the building. And step out here. Don't worry about any shapes that aren't perfect. Now I should be getting some people too. Anybody would stand still long enough. And you know, you just relate the people to what's here. So we've got the doorway that relates here. We've got the awning. People have to be able to walk under an awning without banging into it. So a person would be about here, again at eye level. And they would come down to about here. So I can always add a person later. But to me, the fun part are all these awnings. And anytime you have an awning, it's dark behind it. So I can start playing on some of the darks. Down at the sides of steps coming up. That's how you get into that building. Up here we've got a few things. Now if I want to just make that line secure, I can come in and make it a little darker. Make it a little darker. Because this is the area I want to emphasize. So this building's going to go up. And every time I go up, it gets a little bit steeper. On these windows. Anything outside of my less is more area, I can just leave it pretty simple. Very unidentified, let's say. Just start the lines and stop. And then here, we're going to make this building end. It's going to end up here. But this building keeps going, and this is my interest area. So now I'm going to come up here onto the building. Oh, fun. Love this. It's like a balcony over it here. It's got like a membership thing. Another line. It's going to be set up. Come up here. And then we're going to go across. Now remember, this is all pretty straight on. That makes it easy. Pretty straight on. It's got a cool blue. Now at this point the sound gets pretty bad again. So you can see now I'm just starting to put in some of the details at the top of the building. You'll notice my line is crooked. Oh, I was so happy to see me correct that line. It needed to be straighter. And now I'm looking for more details in the interest area itself. So you can see I'm adding some of the balconies, adding some of the under part of the balcony, and just additional details in this focal area. That's what's important. Just spend as much time as you want in your focal area. but keep everything else kind of lost. In fact, wouldn't it be cool if a person stuck their head out that window right now and I could just add a little person? But it didn't happen, so I decided to go up and complete the building in the background. Still trying to straighten that line out. See, if your first line doesn't work, don't worry about it. Just keep adding more lines. The viewer can pick whatever line they want. So now this is that straight on building in the back. And of course, anytime there's chimneys, I'm on it. These little chimneys are so cool. They've got little pointed tops and little openings. So I just tried to, again, add as many shapes as I could just to kind of complete this area. But again, I'm close to the edge now. Notice how I just let that line kind of end. Maybe one or two more chimneys in here will do it. And then we'll come around and develop the rest of the focal area. Notice how the light is changing. Just in the short time, we've already got light on our subject. Now I'm going to come down into that most important area, this horizontal thrust that takes you across the front of the page. Of course, I have to check my subject area, look for shapes, look for things that are identifiable. And there it is. We need to have some little objects that have fallen to the ground, leaves off the tree, whatever, but something that's an awfully big foreground. And the other thing I love to do is to add these lines of perspective. There happen to be tiles in here. So along the edge of that building, see, I would come in with more of these perspective lines leading you in. But notice how I stop and start. They're not continuous. They're little broken shapes. Now the other side of that building is going to tell me what shape I should go in that direction. And see how I'm again breaking it up into little shapes. Oh, it's wonderful. And I'm also adding some textural things by using the edge of my pen. See how I lay my pen on its edge? And it gives me that kind of scratchy line. I don't want them as dark as some of those other lines. So this is working out pretty good. And I can never stay away from the tree. If I could have painted this whole picture with the tree. But I'm just coming in now with a couple of additional lines. And then we're going to start working on the shapes. Mostly I just need to come up with some dark patterns. Some shapes, some dark patterns, maybe some. And same here now, there's balconies and all kinds of things here. But I'm not sure we want to get into too much of that. We might suggest a few. Another one up here. But see, we can just get by with that. I always love wires on the building because they start and stop behind things. And they help provide just a little bit of perspective. And every time you have wires, they have a little junction, and then things come down. I don't know. I just love all that stuff crisscrossing around. In fact, there's some wires coming over here that cross over, attach. And then they'll go around the building and out. The wires are too much fun. I always have to put a few of those in. Yeah, just helps to add a little more interest. I'm going to take a break at this point, photograph some people, and I'm going to just put some people in later in the studio, and I'll paint it there. When I travel, when I paint anywhere in my studio, one of the things I really like to do is to paint with the theme that less is more, because I tend to go into total realism. Given the time, I could just paint and paint until I've overdone it, and of course I have over the years done that. So now I'm trying to do less is more. Now here's a very crazy subject. This was after we had lunch in Ireland at just a lovely bar. We went around to the parking lot and looked up and went, oh, look at this. Look at this great, beautiful castle. So we just quickly got out our pens and started drawing. And I didn't have time to finish it, but I did quickly throw in some of the foliage. You know, I love to do that, where I throw the paint, first the yellow, then the gold, then the blue. And these edges are very crisp, but you'll notice down here I wet the paper so that these edges are lost. I threw a little salt in it. I thought, oh, what else can I do? I know what I'll do. I'll just paint the sky. And I love this. This is a perfect example of less is more. I'm never going to come in and do more to it, especially since I've already sold the painting and it's just a copy of it. No, another place. A couple years ago, I was in Cortona, Italy, and I was quite overwhelmed because of these tall buildings. And so when I got to Cortona, I just said, I'm just going to do a little intimate doorway or something. And I was sitting in this coffee shop, and I could see my students were lined up here, and they were busy painting away. I thought, oh, I really like those buildings. I don't want to do that many windows. I don't want to do that much roof line. So I just decided to do the interest area. And that's what's fun about doing less is more. You simply come in and you focus on just what you're interested in. And see, this is what I liked. I love the fact they were sitting here, the little canopies and all this. And then I just brought the color up here, went around the top, suggested some of the windows, and that was it. So this also is a great candidate for less is more. And then this right here, I did this when I was in Bulgaria, long time ago. And we did a lot of drawing. This was a scene across a river from us. And when it was time to paint it, I went, I don't want to paint everything. I just want to paint these really cool, colorful windows, these draping, oh, I don't know what they were. They were just a canopy to protect the few people that were having coffee down here. And it was framed in by foliage and laundry, everything you want in a picture. So I had a great time drawing it, and I painted it in about 5 minutes. Just focused in on, again, I usually do a path, something leading you into the focal area and then leading you out again. Now this one, I'm not sure if this really qualifies, but so far I kind of like it. This was down in Provence. And again, it's the foliage, all very tight and crisp in the focal area. But when it gets to the edge, I spray it and I keep it misted out and lost. And I kind of like it like this without too much color. I'm still thinking about the possibility of maybe adding just a little color to separate this line from the side of this building and the top of that roof. But if I do anything, that's about all it'll be. And this one is one that goes way back. This was sort of started my career in less is more. This was at a beautiful spring market in France, southwestern France, with this 14th century abbey in ruins in the background, little foliage, this beautiful market. And again, I painted the foliage, keeping it crisp, keeping it soft on the edges. Came in with a little sky. I like the way this leads you into the picture. And then I started with the plants and the flowers, and then I decided, okay, stop. I just love
partially finished paintings. To me, it's like the viewer finishes it. You can put anything you want, red scarves, anything. And I was recently in Venice, and again, with all the boats and all the beautiful things to paint, gondolas everywhere. What do I paint? Laundry. But I couldn't help it. The cast shadow was so lovely. In fact, this painting still has a lot of finishing. I haven't put all the colors on the laundry. But it was another example of just zeroing in on an interest area. You have to be passionate about what you're painting. If you're not passionate about the subject you're painting, it's going to show it. You have to get into it. And I'll have to say I had an awfully good time on that. And now I happen to be in Spain, and this beautiful iconic gate is the La Finca del Niño, the farm of the child. And this is the entrance in. And I've done this gate many, many times, but this time I just wanted to keep it really simple. So I just tried to show that there's lots of flowers here, lots of foliage. I love this contrast here with the white against the blue sky. And to me, this says the finca. Just that little bit, that's enough. So yesterday we were out in Nerja, in where we are here in southern Spain, and I only had a very short time, and I decided, okay, this is it. I'm going to do a less is more with this lovely tree. This tree really is what first captured me. I love this tree. And then I just love this little interest area here with a couple of figures. And I happen to have my production manager, Jonas, with me on this trip. So I said, hey, Jonas, come on over. I'm going to draw this. So I drew this sort of like a warm-up to see if I could do it. And then I came back, and this is the drawing I did with the camera running. And you'll notice this has an underpainting. So I had already done this underpainting, leaving a focal area of light. And look how perfectly that fit in there. So now I'm ready to come in and start finishing a little bit more drawing, and then I'm going to start painting. Let me get the photograph here to show you. So this is what we were looking at. It had some lovely tiles coming in, and there's that beautiful tree. And the light, when we first got there, the light was actually, there were patterns cast from trees that weren't even in the picture. And then as the day progressed, the lights, it's amazing how quickly the pattern of light changes. So it just kept, the sun kept moving, there more and more light on the tree. You can see that other heavy shadow is now gone. And lots of people. So I'm going to just paint two interpretations of this. I mentioned that I need to do just a little bit more drawing on this. I did come in after the camera stopped rolling, and I put in this gal and this person coming out of the building. And now I just feel like we need to have a few more dark shapes in here to lead us in. So I'm thinking I need to come in and do just a few more dark shapes. Just make something up. These are like windows. Actually, it was an ice cream stand. But if I just come in here and try to make it look like maybe some windows, this is where people walk. And you'll see I indicated some of those tiles here. And that just helps to pull the viewer in. I love leading the viewer through the picture. So I think with just a few of these darks, these little checkerboard back and forth patterns, and possibly just a few more lines, maybe on the tree. It has this wonderful knot hole. I don't want to get too much information. Remember, this is supposed to be less is more. But I love to draw so much, it's a problem trying to stop. Somebody take this pen out of my hand. The other thing I challenged myself was not to do any pencil lines. So I did start this out with no pencil lines yesterday. We're ready to go. So I'll start with this one. I am going to keep the paper dry so I can have some hard edges. And I'm thinking about some Cobalt Blue. So here's some Cobalt. And I'm probably going to use some Winsor Orange so I can create some grays. But the first thing I want to do is to get a beautiful sky. I might just add a little manganese into this too, a little yellow. And there was a lot of blue accent on these buildings. So I'm going to pull some of this pure blue in here. So I want to indicate the tops here. And then I'm just going to lose the edges. And the easiest way to do that is to take your brush, shake it out, take off just a little bit of extra, and then come in like this and just lose that edge. If you don't shake the extra water and take a little bit off, and if you start with the color, it'll go on. But if you back into the color, you lose it right away. And then you don't put too much water in, so you end up with a nice little lost edge with no bleed back. It's nice. I want to go just a little bit darker, close to the building. So we'll just carry that through. There's a start here now. A little color in the sky, that's cool. And I think it would be fun to pick up some of that blue, like in these windows. Because see, I'm only going to color this part. And if you could see here, see the strong blue accents coming around? There's even some blue-green in the building here. So we'll just go for some of that. Now I'm going to put a little bit of orange in here to gray this down. And I'm just going to throw in some of those patterns. And we'll go much darker in some areas. Especially in some of the windows here. There's a lot of shadow in here. And I'm thinking of just adding maybe some blue in the windows, the doorway. Not gonna put, it's looking kind of monochromatic, but that's kind of what I had in mind. And there's a lot of dark in here, so I'm going to gray down my blue with just a little bit of this orange and pop in that dark under the umbrella, overhead awning I should call it. Maybe just a little bit of that nice bright blue somewhere here and there. It's kind of fun just popping one color. I'll put that on some of these guys too. Now this building is actually in shadow, but I don't want to do a lot, so I'm just going to pull out a little shadow here. And again, I want to just lead the viewer in, up through this area and out. I'm really tempted though to do something with that tree. And I really want to put more color. This is a decorative blue on the side of the building. And there was a decorative blue under here. And it was around the edges of these buildings too. That was what attracted me to this, was that beautiful blue pattern. But I think we need something a little different in here. Maybe some red. How about a little orange, bright orange? Let's go for it. So I'm going to come in here with some red. Put some red on her. Sprinkle some red in here. Some red in the window. And I can't resist, I'm going to do just a little bit on this tree. Because the light was coming in this way, so I would only put it on half of the tree. I think that's going to be it. I can think about it a little bit and decide if there's something else I'd like to add. For me, it's usually darks at the end. If I take even just some more of this cobalt, which doesn't give you a real strong dark, but with the orange it does, because they're such perfect complements. So I could actually go a little darker. Push it back even further. Darker inside the building. The cast shadows. I think that helps a little bit. There. Okay, now this is the actual drawing I did with the camera running, and it did have an underpainting of raw sienna, quinacridone burnt orange, and indigo. So, and a lot of wet spraying to get the colors to blend together. And then in some of the transitional areas between my path of light and the first color, I threw some salt. So you notice most of the little salty shapes are right next to the lightest lights. And then these darker areas remain pure. I usually don't salt anything that's a nice pure color. And because of these warm colors, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in and start grabbing some nice fresh color. So we have some Quin Gold here. I also put a little Quin Gold in with the raw sienna. And this is a new color I've been using called Nickel Azo, nice and bright. And I think what I'm going to do is just come in and do some of these nice brighter colors here in my focal area. So that's Nickel Azo. Here's a little gold. Still going to save a little bit of the underpainting. Don't ever hit it all. And of course you want to repeat those colors, so I think I'll put that on some of the clothing. Maybe up here, this appears to be an awning. Maybe some of these curtains. And I think it would be fun just to come in with some nice bright colors. This is Winsor Orange. It's a very, very beautiful bright orange. Maybe hint a little bit up in here too. And I think what I'll do is put this orange into this building. Oh yeah, that feels good. We needed some color. It's getting a little gray. So same thing. Now I'm going to put some of these yellows right into the building here. And I will mix some grays too. Only this time I'm going to keep the grays. I'm just going to use my indigo, which is the color I used in the underpainting. This is it right here. So indigo can be pretty deadly. So I'm going to put just a little bit of French ultramarine in with it. It's a beautiful warm blue. And that's going to give us some lovely darks. And I just want to create some of the patterns of cast shadows. And I always think about the directional movement when I throw this. I want the pattern to be coming across like this. So my paper's dry. I'm in control all the way along here. So I can just drag this into kind of a nice dry brush. Pick up some patterns. And anytime you're working on landscape, you want to keep your movement back and forth. Don't start painting up and down. Always paint in the direction of the landscape, which is pretty much always horizontal. So again, we'll drag it back here. Oh, this is starting to be fun. A little color. Now I'm going to go really dark. This is some pretty pure indigo. A little bit of French ultramarine just to warm it up a bit. And I want to create my most colorful things and my darkest values in the focal area. Break through here. Some of the cast shadows under the eaves. Some of the shadows in the buildings. Wouldn't hurt to add a little brighter color even. Let's go for it. This is a little Scarlet Lake. And always I like to entertain people when you have windows. I like to pretend there's something colorful in there. Maybe this could be colorful across here. Let's pull some of that color out. Soften some of this, move it around. Oh, that feels good. I love wet into wet. I gotta do a little bit of it. And I think this building needs to have some color too. Let's try some raw sienna. Raw sienna, that's gold. Raw sienna is a beautiful earthy color. It's not as bright as that other one, but it's a beautiful earth color. So that feels good. And as we move up here, I think we need to get some color into that sky too. So this is that same warm blue that I used, French Ultramarine blue. We'll pop out these chimneys. And again, I want to lose the edges. I don't like to go hard all the way to the edge. So we'll just soften it a bit when we get to the edges. It wouldn't hurt to repeat that lovely blue somewhere else. So make it a little darker right next to the building. And let's see. Maybe in this doorway. So other than a few more shadows, I think I'm just gonna stop and take a look at this, see what else it might need. I want to keep it simple. It's so easy to overdo it. Definitely need some more darks over here, leading our viewer in. And then it's always tempting to go into that tree. I'm trying so hard to keep this just in this area. That helped quite a bit. This is Quin Gold. It's a lovely color. So to do the tree or not to do the tree, that is the question. I think if I stay gray enough with just the indigo, which is pretty much gray, I think it would look nice. So I'm just going to put a little bit on the shadow side. And that should be enough. Goes into the gray up here. Keep it light over here. There. So I better check my edges now. I see I've got an edge in the sky I don't like. I'll lose that. Probably time to throw in some salt, break up some spaces. Have some salt handy. I always carry my salt. This is an antique mill. Remember when we used to get film in these? So a little salt here to break up areas. And just a little thinking time. What does it need? Maybe I need to show that this building is in front of that building. And this building has a little bit of gray on it. That might be enough right there. Okay. I may be back if I decide it needs more. Thanks. Well, hello. I'm now in my studio and getting ready to start to add the finishing touches on this piece. And I kept looking at it and it needs something zippy, but I wasn't sure what. And then a friend of mine named Marianne told me about an incredible new app called Mobile Monet. I want to share this with you. Mobile Monet. You can get it through the App Store for $1.99,
and it's really easy to use. And after she told me about it, you're not going to believe how much fun this is. Well, you can see here among my apps, this is what it looks like. And it's got its own camera and a bunch of other things. But I'm going to go directly into my library. And what I want to do is go up here to my albums, and I'm going to go down to the area where I've selected pictures called Less is More. And in here, I've got all just pictures related to what we're doing. And here's what happens. For example, this is the subject as we saw it on location. And the first thing this app does is it reduces everything to 3 values. So you have your black, mid-tone, and white. It's amazing. Look how all my darks are falling into the focal area. And now let's add the color. And this is what's interesting about Mobile Monet. You just simply take your finger and this reproduces the color. It's amazing. So I want the color in this area. So I'm just going to come in and do it down and in kind of this across the front. And then one of the things, even this didn't excite me that much. There's something wrong. What's missing? So I went up here and I put these reds in from the lettering above the awning, and I went, that is what this picture needs. So you can see there's all kinds of tools around here. This is the tool that adds the color. Now if you want to take something away, let's say I went in here and I got too much, I can take this little eraser and I can go back in and take it away. So if you do too much, you've got the option to take away color as well. Let me show you this tool with just a few more pictures. So we'll go back to my library. And for example, this is my newest great-granddaughter. Oh, look at that. In just seconds, we're looking at just the beautiful black mid-tone light. And then if I want to just maybe add a little color to Elizabeth Ann here, I can do that. And then if I want to add a little color to Jessica, look at that. We can just give her a little color. And then if I want to come around here, maybe over here, I think I should frame it in darker. So see, if you just touch it a little bit, it'll do a little, but if you press it a lot, it'll go darker. Look at that. It's like magic. So let's frame in Elizabeth. Let's give her a little more color. Same with Jessica. Let's give her just a little more color. So you can see this, it's just I think a fabulous tool to get some ideas for painting. How am I going to do that, especially for the concept I'm talking about, less is more. And then if you like what you're doing, you go up here and then it will save it to the photo library. And then you can put it in any of your albums or start a new album. In this case, I'm just going to leave it in Mobile Monet, send it to that area. Now we're going to go back to our photos. And I just wanted to show you some other little tricks. Now here is a gal named Sonia. I just got home from Spain and she was cooking some paella for us. Look how cool. So one of the things I want to do is first of all put the color on Sonia. And let's give her a little color here. Let's move it across just a little. I always like to do kind of a cruciform. Actually, I like this in the background, coming down. And let's put lots of color on the food. She's just browning the meat to do our paella. And like I say, if you want it darker, you just keep pressing it and going over it a little bit more, a little bit more. And you can see how that brought the color out there. Okay, now I don't really, as much as I like that person in the background, I don't really want that. So over here they have some filters.
And see, you can go through here and make it into a color sketch or a painting. Oh, look at that. He's gone. Love it. So I'm going to stay with that. Now, if I go over here, I can go to the eraser. And look, I can actually make this look like there's steam coming up off of the food. How cool is that? The more I do it, the more steam there is coming out. And he's gone. And like I say, if you don't like it, at any time you can tap the picture and go back and add the color back in again. Or take it away again. But I've been having way too much fun with this app. But anything that gives me some ideas for painting, I think it's really well worth it. Again, I'll put it in my photo album, go back, maybe try one more. And the ideas are endless. Like I just got back from Venice last fall. Look at the beautiful values. I mean, I see this anyway, but for us trying to get rid of all those tools. But you can see the beautiful pattern of darks through the focal area. Go into this tool, and in just a few minutes, I can add the color exactly where I want it. And then if I want to, I can again say go into some of these apps, filters rather. And let's try, here's Watercolor. Yeah, I don't like that one. Here's Intense, Paint and Sketch, Thick, Poster, Impressionist. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. Classic, Vivid, Intensify the colors. Here's one like a watercolor wash. Oh, I like that. So let's keep it there and go back to our tool. And let's add more color in our focal area. And like I say, you can rub it really good and you'll get even more darks. Then if I want to, I can erase. So if I want to come in here and I did too much, I can always take away just a little bit. So I hope you enjoy Mobile Monet. Have a great time. Okay, I am so excited. I want to finish these paintings. I've been carrying them around. I've been looking at them, and today I'm going to get to finish them. So as you know, I do have this photographic reference. This is the idea sheet that came out of my Mobile Monet app. And look at the beautiful patterns here. You know, a lot more information in many ways than just the photograph. And of course, this is the one, seeing that extra red up there, that's what really told me how to finish this painting. So let's get started. I'll leave this here as a reference, and I actually like it the way it is. I don't have a lot to do, but I'm just thrilled and so excited just to come in. This is so simple. I did take the liberty of drawing this in. Rather than drawing it before your very eyes, it just didn't seem like that big a deal. So I just went ahead and drew these in. And right now, I want to treat them differently. So this side is going to be with white letters against a red background. And then the other side is going to be red letters against a white background. And I'm using my Scarlet Lake, which is the brightest reddish, kind of a reddish orange. Oh, look at already! Fantastic. And I think I should bounce a little of this color down here and maybe splash a little here and there. Oh yeah, we got to. Well, maybe not there, but maybe over here, maybe in here. And it's just so important to kind of repeat some of these colors. So I'm just going to throw a few more reds around and go ahead and paint these letters. And it's really a thrill to me how fast this is coming together, this little bit of color. So I think after we're done with this simple approach, I'm going to add a few more darks.
And basically, we should be pretty close. It's amazing. This is the way I hope paintings go for you. Sometimes they just work right away, and sometimes you gotta struggle. Okay, now one of the things that you'll notice in the photograph, it's very dark, very dark. I'm not gonna paint it that dark here. I like more of the subtle grays. But at the same time, I think we need to come in just a little bit darker. So I'm going to move in here with a very strong dark. In this case, I'll just take some of my Quinacridone Orange and some French Ultramarine Blue. And more French Ultramarine Blue than the orange. And you can see already, I've got a nice blue dark. And one of the things I want to do is I want to pop out some really beautiful strong darks, especially in my interest areas here, and maybe some stronger dark across up here, a few little darks here and there to indicate some of the railings. And I like to treat each one of these windows a little differently. Maybe a strong dark here. And then if I lean this color up a little bit, see, I can just come in here and let's put a little blue in with it. And just put a little bit of gray, kind of focusing on the side of that building. And the other thing is, I want to cast shadows under here. Kind of irregularly, here and there. I want to stay out of this area as much as possible, but sometimes I can't help it if a little bit starts. So if I start a little bit, I'll just let it melt out. Same here. If I start a little, I'll just let it melt out. And then under here, I want to go especially dark under some of this little patchy areas under here. And under here. And I think we should really just kind of block this out too. And one of the things I think really important is to get more shadows happening, more cast shadows in the street, leading us in a little bit. So we'll just kind of remix that dark. And I love throwing cast shadows like this. So the shadows are actually darkest next to the object. So next to the people. And then as it goes out, it gets a little bit lighter. So if I just roll a little water over this, that will be nice. And there's always shadows coming into your picture from outside the picture. We don't know where those shadows are coming from. But again, we'll just put a few in here. Crossing over, interlocking, very important. Linking with the tree. Now the tree itself, as I'm looking at this, oh, I'm just dying to get in and do something with that tree. I'll tell you, it's a real, it's hard. I might just do ever so little shadow, just close to my subject here, just a little. That's enough. Now the other thing is this really bright blue. And I want to increase that blue just a little bit more. And I thought I would take this little strip here too. Oops, wrong blue. Let's go into Cobalt. Better. Oh, isn't that nice? And maybe one little broken shape of blue along here. Maybe a little hint in here. Wow. And of course, in our windows, it wouldn't hurt to put just a little bit of that nice bright blue in our windows. and just a little bit of shadow. See, the front of this would be in cast shadow. There'd be ever so little shadow here on our awnings. And I'm thinking I might pick up that red for the awning back here. How about that? Oh, doesn't that feel good? So now we've got a red awning back here, a red sign, a red hat. Well, she ended up with some red there. Maybe just a little bit of red here and there. I think we're done. That was fun. Oh, love it. Now this has dried a little bit. As usual, it dries a little bit lighter. If I wanted to, I could key these letters up a bit. But basically, I've accomplished my goal. I just love it. Less is more. I just basically painted my interest area. It was really fun to do on a 15-minute sketch in a busy little town in Spain. Oh, that was fun. Now we're going to move on to the other one. Now this one here, I did this one with more color. This is the actual one you saw me draw on the video. And what I did is I did a very similar scene. The placement's a little different. And I painted this one with color because it had the underpainting with all those earthy colors. And it just felt like, well, why don't I add some golds to it? And what I've decided to do to this one is not to work in the cool tones. So you can see how this is very cool with the red accent. This one is very warm. So what I'm going to do is stick with the earthier colors. And whenever you're working with complementary colors, like this golden color here, I'll pull a little out. That's Quin Gold. If I want to gray down that, I would take permanent magenta. And see, when these two colors mix together, you get what in essence is gray. It's the same thing that happened when I took orange and blue to make gray to black, or if I simply take Winsor Orange with Cobalt Blue. See, they're complements. And when you mix them together, you get a gray. But in this case, the gray is formed by using magenta because purple and yellow are complements. So one of the first things I want to do is I want to pull in maybe some color on the shutters and some cast shadows on the subject itself. So I'm going to start with the cast shadows. In other words, I'm going to take some, that's kind of scary, but I'm going to take some permanent magenta. And I'm just going to put it right over this yellow because I know that it's going to mix on the paper to form this lovely gray. So the first thing I want to do is kind of similar to the last one. I want to get a shadow. I want this in the background to go back because it's further back. Just like that, it went back. Isn't that cool? And I want to cast some shadow under here. Now I can also add, I can make it darker. So I could take my Quin Burnt Orange, French Ultramarine Blue, and make a black. And then if I want to, I could put a little bit of this into it to make the shadow darker. So if I want the shadow darker in a few places, I can do that. And if I want to play with just a little bit of shadow underneath, remember how I like to start the shadow but stay out of this area? But I can't help but put just a little bit of shadow here. Then just wet it and let it just get lost. And then we obviously need to put some shadow underneath this awning. So now I'm back to my purple. Really, it's permanent magenta, but it's a form of purple. And just putting it into this area under here, it's going to cast it, put it in a cast shadow. And if I want to gray it down or go even darker, I'm going to use this mixture of Quinacridone Burnt Orange and French Ultramarine Blue. And see, that color I can take all the way to black by adding about 2 parts French Ultramarine Blue to 1 part Quinacridone Burnt Orange. So I do want to put in some very strong, crisp darks here and there, especially under here, and a few more over here. Maybe under in some of these areas. So it's just mostly to create some accent, some darks. And then I think the other thing that would help a lot is to again put the color in our sign and to also add some color on the shutters. So let's go for an earthier color. Here's our Quin Burnt Orange. I think that would make lovely shutter color. Oh yeah. So let's leave a couple little remnants of the color that's here. Not paint it like a coloring book. Just, we're gonna leave a few little, maybe even a dry brush. A little bit darker up here. Oh, the color really helps. And then if I put that same color on the sign, but add a little red to it, because I want these to jump. So I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to paint so that these colors have the white letters against the darker background. It worked before, let's hope it works again. Only this will be earthier, a little bit earthier color. And then over on this one, we're going to take again a little bit of red in it, and we'll just do the lettering as positive against the light background. I like it better already. Oh, this is too much fun. Now this really bright color, I think it wouldn't hurt just to do a little bit of red, bright. So again, my Scarlet Lake. Just pop a few reds here and there, and possibly a little bit of red onto these shutters, into some of the darks. And I always like to throw just a little into the foreground. And then I think the last thing we need to do is to pull this magenta color into our shadows. And as I mentioned before, when you do this, you want to pull that shadow color tight against your subject, and then as you move out, go lighter. So I'm just going to soften them out here, but leave it a little darker here against the subject, and then always a few shadows coming in from outside your picture. And they're usually trees. Can't help. Now see, this is getting really close to done. I think the only thing left, and this is probably still a little wet, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to put a little shadow over this sign. So this is just that purpley gray. And if some of the color from the red goes in, it's okay. I think it'll look nice. Oh yeah, that looks much better now, having a little shadow in there. And boy, it's tempting just to come in here and do too much. Other than a little darker shadow maybe under here. Soften. Put the brush down, Karlyn. You're done. Well, that was really fun. I hope you enjoy this lesson. I hope you have an opportunity to try it. And it can be in your backyard. You don't have to go all the way to Spain to do something like this. It's all about getting brave. Do that sketch. Look, remember when I made that mistake up here? Look, you got 1, 2, 3 lines to pick from. So that's how I make corrections. I just add another line every time I think it's wrong. Maybe I'll try that one. And eventually, I don't know, all those lines just seem to work. So, good luck.